Beep, beep, beep. Hello. Welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Please do subscribe if you can. Buy me a coffee, become a warrior teacher, the usual. I've got another Substack. It's like a trove of treasure sitting on a gold mine, as Robin Williams said in Mrs. Doubtfire. And this one comes from a Felicia Rembrandt. What a wonderful name, Felicia Rembrandt. Yeah, I'm not going to say much about it because I think it's just good. It's called The Parasitic Worm. In honour of yet another Celebrate Trans People or Else Week, I'd like to introduce readers to the Apple Maggot. About 150 years ago, a new type of tiny fruit fly evolved in the eastern United States to feed on tree fruit, apples in particular, but also pears, cherries, plums and apricots. It has since spread down into Florida and has recently been found in the western states. The female flies puncture the fruit with their needle-like ovipositor and then deposit their eggs deep into the fruit. Each egg contains about 300 larvae, and when the eggs hatch, the larvae swarm through the flesh to fatten themselves. See where it's going? Fatten themselves, right? Left untreated, the fruit of an entire orchard can become so wormy it is unfit to eat. This is the Apple Maggot. This is so good. It is the best metaphor I can think of for trans ideology and the activists who propagate it. Most of those following developments in the culture war, brackets, the war against women, the war against humanity, know about the forced teaming advocated in the notorious Denton's playbook. If you're wondering what the Denton's playbook is, James Kirkup did a very good piece on it in The Spectator. Just look up James Kirkup, Denton's playbook. What has happened is far more than forced teaming. And it is more than a virus, too. It's the destruction of the host to feed the parasite that replaces it. Call it the trans larvae or the gender worm. Does feel naughty, this, doesn't it? Feel a bit naughty? Feels a bit naughty, but it's good. Yeah. The infestation began with the lesbian and gay community. Just naughty. Robust from success in fighting for gay marriage and for decent medical attention to AIDS. That community was a beautiful fruit. It had brought lesbians and gay men together. It had nursed empathy in the straight culture for people it had previously had a distinct distaste for. It was the product of democratic values and had taken 100 years and more to ripen. That's so true. That's a cracking paragraph. When the tea was added around 2015, the whole was bored and the egg laid. Now look at the 2S and look up at the QII plus community, a community in name only, a destructive trans-centered cult that despises same-sex attraction and works actively to replicate more of its own parasitic kind of seducing children. Having consumed that fruit, the worm moved on to womanhood, hollowing it out, leaving behind nothing but a shell, a name that means everyone and no one. Read about a woman now and it might be a man who raped another woman, a man speaking on behalf of women on International Women's Day, a winner of a beauty competition or a women's sports event. You never know. But women are left with nothing but functions and body parts. We're gestators or menstruators or uterus havers. We're the skin left behind when the worm has finished. The trans worm has also bored deep down into the various feminisms meant to serve the needs, rights and interests of women. The newly hatched parasitic trans feminist movement supports the men who exploit women through prostitution and surrogacy and calls for the reduction of the age that children can consent to physical desecration by the medical industry and sex with men. The parasite has been burrowing in the political left as well, founded on ideals of solidarity, the belief that people could work together to pry goods out of elite owners of all the world's wealth. It now fights against solidarity in the name of the rotten fruit of the TQ+. Critics decry the politics of identitarianism without identifying the real problem, which is that the left has been consumed by a false identity group. On an international level, the worm has burrowed into the environmental movement through its inclusion in the World Economic Forum's ESG mandates, Klaus Schwab was the inventor of stakeholder capitalism, a form of government corporate control in which citizens with voting rights are replaced by corporate nominated special interest groups deemed stakeholders in the new planetary economic order. You can check out a previous post I wrote about that here. So there's a link to more information about that one paragraph you just heard there. The Environmental Social Governance Index guides the invention of favoured special interest groups. And I'll be talking about that in Buxton. This is me, by the way. I'll be talking about that in Buxton. All right? The Environmental Social Governance Index guides the invention of favoured special interest groups. The S is the nest of diversity, equity and inclusion. The egg of the parasite. That's the S in the ESG. Environmental Social Governance. Swine. The WF is now in partnership with the UN and its Sustainable Development Goals, its ESG scoring enforced by WF's other partner, the mammoth BlackRock asset management firm, which deals only in Larry Fink's parasite-infested financial instrument, while the WF compromises 1,000 heads of the largest corporations in the world, plus the heads of multiple NGO, charitable and service organisations, plus as many politicians as it can indoctrinate into its mantra through its young global leaders and global shapers forum. It appears to be pursuing the digitisation of humanity itself. As Michael Rectenwald writes in his new book, The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty, the WF's public-private partnerships entail the networking of corporations, states, NGOs, influential individuals, and national international governing bodies into what has become an effective global hegemon. The idea there, hegemonic, originally a military term, but the idea there for an overarching system of control that quite often people take part in and don't realise they are, but they give permission to take part in it. That's what they mean by the hegemon. Thus, the WF is the inheritor of the Old Boys Network, which now includes some women and men of every ethnicity and skin colour. What it retains is its focus on empowering its own identity groups, elite people of power and wealth, while pretending to represent humanity. Superb. It's just brilliant. Thank you so much, Felicia Rembrandt. It's a great narrative around what's going on and what we're seeing happening. And I recommend you do go and read and subscribe and read the full thing. The link is usually in the doobers. As I always say, Felicia's taken time to write it. You can take time to read it. Get yourself a cup of coffee, because there's a lot more meat in there again, as I always say. All right? Great, good. Off! Away with you, ne'er-do-wells, peasants and Jesterites. And I shall see you shortly. Go have fun. Bye-bye.